Welcome to the Daily History Podcast. Today, we set sail on a remarkable voyage through time to when the late Middle Ages were giving way to the dawn of the Renaissance, a pivotal moment that reshaped the world. Picture the grand cathedrals and the bustling market squares, the air filled with the sound of clinking armor and distant chants of Gregorian choirs. As Europe emerges from the shadows of plague and war, a glimmer of reawakening stirs the continent. The yearning for revival was not solely artistic or intellectual. It had grounded counterparts in the realms of economy, politics, and society. Europe's silk and spice hunger, fed by tales from the East brought back by travelers like Marco Polo, had created an insatiable appetite for trade. Yet, the traditional land routes were plagued with hazards, including treacherous terrain and thieving bandits. The fall of Constantinople in 1453 to the Ottoman Turks had further choked these arteries of trade, compelling merchants and monarchs alike to dream of new pathways for prosperity. To understand the economic dynamics, we must grasp the immense value of spices at that time, used for preserving food, enhancing flavor, and in medical remedies. Pepper, cinnamon, and cloves were worth their weight in gold, literally. European courts also craved luxuries like silk and precious gems. The political scene was equally charged. Nations vied for dominance, and controlling trade routes offered wealth and power, crucial for the burgeoning nation-states of Portugal and Spain to assert their influence on the global stage. The social fabric, too, was steeped in change. As merchants amassed wealth and the middle class grew in stature, so did their influence on politics and society. This, coupled with the spirit of inquiry that the Renaissance nurtured, spurred an era that valued discovery and human potential. Here, in a zeitgeist of exploration, the grand voyages of future explorers were but a spark away. In harbors along the Iberian Peninsula, ships creaked and swayed, awaiting the tide that would carry them into the unknown. It was an age where the sail and the sword could redraw maps and destinies alike. The stage was set for intrepid souls who, driven by wonder, ambition, and the promise of riches, would soon pierce the veil of the horizon, alter the course of history, and begin a chapter known as the Age of Exploration. In 1492, an ambitious navigator set forth on a perilous journey across the vast Atlantic, challenging the fears of sea monsters and endless watery abyss. This was Christopher Columbus. Born in the Republic of Genoa, Columbus believed he could find a new route to Asia by sailing westward, bypassing the arduous overland routes dominated by the Ottomans and the dangerous waters controlled by the Portuguese. With the backing of the Spanish monarchs, Queen Isabella and King Ferdinand, Columbus set sail on August 3, 1492, from Palos de la Frontera in Spain. Commanding the Santa Maria, with the Pinta and the Niña alongside, he embarked not knowing he would soon step onto the shores of a new world. After 2 long months at sea, on the morning of October 12th, the lookout atop the Pinta sighted land. It was an island in the Bahamas that Columbus would name San Salvador. Believing he had reached the outskirts of Asia, he called the indigenous people he encountered Indians. The initial interactions between Columbus and the Taino people he met were a blend of amity and exploitation. Columbus noted their generosity and peaceful nature, but was also quick to assess their potential as laborers. The cultural exchange was one-sided. The Europeans bore gifts of beads and red caps to the natives, and in return received gold, a commodity that would drive subsequent voyages. However, this contact also marked the beginning of a brutal period of colonization and forced labor that devastated the indigenous populations. One of the unintended yet transformative outcomes of Columbus's voyages was the initiation of the Columbian Exchange. This exchange would see the swapping of crops, animals, ideas, and even diseases between the old and new worlds. European livestock like horses, pigs, and cattle were introduced to the Americas, while crops such as maize, potatoes, and tomatoes made their way to Europe and beyond. Sadly, deadly diseases such as smallpox and measles also traveled along, for which the indigenous people had little to no immunity, leading to catastrophic population declines. Thus, Columbus's journey, fraught with risks and misconceptions, forever altered the course of history. The Columbian Exchange began an era of global ecological integration, but at a dire human cost. This tale of curiosity, ambition, and consequences sets the stage for the entwined destinies of continents and peoples that would unfold for centuries to come. We now dive into the age when the world seemed vast and immeasurable, yet ripe for discovery. Today, we unravel the story of Vasco da Gama and his Eastern Odyssey, a voyage that would redefine the globe's commercial and political landscape. In 1497, da Gama embarked on a treacherous and groundbreaking journey around the southern tip of Africa, in search of an oceanic path to the fabled spice lands of India. It was a bold quest, driven by the promise of wealth and the thirst for knowledge. The route around Africa, known as the Cape of Good Hope, was shrouded in mystery and fraught with peril. Da Gama's fleet of 4 ships faced the unforgiving nature of the seas, battling fierce storms, navigating uncharted waters, and even contending with scurvy among his crew. Finally, reaching the coast of India in May 1498, da Gama's arrival in Calicut marked a new era in global trade. The spices of the East, which had been transported overland through complex trading networks at great expense, were now accessible by sea, heralding a shift in economic power to those who ruled the waves. The implications of da Gama's venture were profound. With the direct sea route secured, the spice trade became dominated by maritime powers, primarily the Portuguese, who could now bypass the traditional land routes controlled by Arab and Venetian merchants. This geopolitical shift was not without consequence. It spurred European imperialism, reshaping political boundaries and laying the groundwork for the colonial empires that followed. Vasco da Gama's Eastern Odyssey did not just blaze a trail to India. It opened the floodgates to an era of global exploration and conquest that would permanently alter the course of history. Beyond the familiar coastlines and known ports, there existed a world that beckoned the boldest to discover what lay beyond. It is here, in Section 4, titled Beyond the Known World, we celebrate the feats of intrepid explorers like Ferdinand Magellan and John Cabot, men who dared to navigate the globe's veiled corners, and in doing so, expanded the world's borders as they had been known to the maps of their age. Ferdinand Magellan, a Portuguese explorer who sailed on behalf of Spain, is heralded for leading the expedition that would first circumnavigate the globe. Setting sail in 1519 with a fleet of 5 ships, Magellan's vision was as vast as the oceans he sought to traverse. The journey was replete with challenges, including treacherous waters, mutiny, and disease. Yet, it was Magellan's steadfastness that led his expedition to discover the Strait of Magellan, the navigable sea route in southern Chile, offering passage from the Atlantic to the Pacific Ocean. Though Magellan's life was claimed in the Philippines in 1521, his crew pressed on, and upon their return in 1522, the world map bore new testimony to the planet's vastness and continuity. The Pacific and Atlantic were now linked in ways unimagined before. Venturing from a different shore, John Cabot, an Italian navigator under the English flag, embarked in 1497, his eyes set on finding a northwest passage to Asia. Instead, Cabot stumbled upon what is believed to be Newfoundland, or Cape Breton Island in modern-day Canada, unknowingly marking the beginning of a long series of European explorations in North America. His voyages, though not as extensively documented as Magellan's, suggested the existence of a landmass separate from Asia. The information gleaned from his expeditions provided the inklings of a distinct continental mass, collaboratively sketched into the European consciousness as the New World, enlarging not only geographical understandings, but also the backdrop of nations' maritime aspirations. These expeditions were not without cost. For every league charted and every coastline mapped, there were sailors who weathered the brunt of these epic journeys. The human toll among these explorers was high. Disease, starvation, skirmishes, and the unforgiving sea claimed many lives. Yet the price was not only paid by the sailors. Indigenous peoples faced incursions on their land and way of life. The arrival of Europeans precipitated unprecedented cultural upheavals, encounters that often led to conflict, subjugation, and the tragic consequences of introduced diseases. In our pursuit of honoring their contributions, we should not overlook the deep impact their journeys had on countless individuals, both at sea and ashore, as the age of exploration irreversibly connected worlds that had evolved in profound isolation from one another. Navigating the vast and unpredictable seas was no simple feat. The myriad challenges faced by mariners of old were gradually eased with remarkable advancements in navigation technology. Tools like the astrolabe, an intricate device capable of calculating latitude by measuring the angles of celestial bodies above the horizon, enabled sailors to journey with greater confidence. The invention of the magnetic compass, an instrument harnessing Earth's magnetic field to establish direction, provided a reliable means to maintain a steady course, even through the densest fog or the darkest nights. By the 15th century, shipbuilding too had reached new heights with the construction of the caravel. This innovative vessel, designed with a distinctive combination of square and lateen sails, afforded it the agility to sail windward, a capability unimaginable in previous ships on this scale. Caravels became symbolic of the age of exploration, their robust and adaptable frame enabling explorers like Vasco da Gama and Columbus to traverse previously impassable oceanic distances. A notable exemplar, the Santa Maria, which ushered Columbus to the New World, was instrumental in these voyages of discovery, a testament to the caravel's transformative impact on maritime exploration. The synergy between emerging technology and the spirit of exploration was undeniable. As navigators became more adept in the application of these new tools and ships, their voyages grew bolder, pushing the boundaries of the known world. History discerns an era of progress, fueled by intellect and invention, where the mastery of seas and skies became not mere dreams, but tangible realities. This profound change allowed for the exchange of ideas and commodities, effectively shrinking the world in ways that still ripple across time, connecting distant shores and disparate cultures. As the age of exploration unfolded before the world, the fabric of global interaction was irreversibly altered. Away from the immediacy of these monumental journeys, their influence seeped into the socio-economic and political arteries of the world, reshaping everything they touched. Consider global trade. The once lucrative Silk Road diminished as new maritime trade routes flourished, connecting continents like never before. Powerful seafaring nations, such as Portugal and Spain, were now dictating the ebb and flow of commerce, ultimately redrawing political boundaries. The Treaty of Tordesillas in 1494, for example, carved the world into spheres of influence that reverberate in today's national borders. Moreover, this era ushered in an unprecedented wave of cultural exchanges. The Columbian Exchange, a term coined by historian Alfred W. Crosby, encapsulates the profound exchange of crops, livestock, and even lifestyle between the new and old worlds. Maize and potatoes journeyed across the Atlantic to Europe, where they would become staples, while sugarcane and horses made their way to the Americas. But not all exchanges were beneficial. Devastating diseases like smallpox and measles were introduced to the New World, resulting in staggering casualties among the indigenous populations who lacked immunity to such ailments. Conversely, syphilis is thought to have traveled back to Europe with returning explorers, each disease embodying an insidious envoy of change. The world stage was irrevocably altered. Ideas and innovations spread as fast as the ships could sail, and the desire for exploration permeated even the most distant societies. As empires expanded, a global consciousness began to emerge, setting the stage for the interconnected world we know today, with its complex blend of conflict and cooperation, advancement and adversity. Truly, the ripples of the age of exploration are still felt in the tides of our current affairs. Thank you for embarking on this historical journey with us today on the Daily History Podcast. If you've enjoyed exploring the untold tales of the age of exploration, please subscribe and share your thoughts in the comments below. Suggest a topic for a future episode, and perhaps your idea will set the course for our next adventure. The suggestion with the most likes will capture our attention for a new episode. We appreciate your engagement and participation and look forward to your contributions. Until next time, keep navigating the rich waters of history with us.